Hi everyone, I'm Jeff Gammett. I'm the managing editor from the Mac Observer. Thank you for getting up so early and coming and hanging out with us on a foggy Saturday morning. It is Saturday, isn't it? I don't even know what it is.
Isn't it?
Okay, Saturday morning. So this is the Women in Tech panel, and yes, I know I don't look like most women. You know, it's a new century. Just keep an open mind. All right, so our panel today, and actually I feel very honored to get to stand here with this powerhouse panel of women. So at the end, we have Jean McDonald from Smile Software. And then, hold on, I want to make sure that I get everyone's cool stuff in. Okay, so Dory Smith, renowned author. And Carrie Rago, and you are a social networking expert, right?
Sure, that's what some people say.
Okay, I'm sorry, social networking diva.
I say social media consultant.
Social media consultant, all right.
That's what I say.
Wanted to get it right. And Kelly Gumont, she is from the unofficial Apple weblog and Agile Software. And podcaster extraordinaire, Allison Sheridan. What?
Put the name of the show. You got to pimp the show.
Did I not pimp your? Oh, jeez, I'm sorry. NosillaCast. If you're not listening, why? And then Ronnie Roche, who, oh my God, Ronnie, I forgot what you do.
Oh,
I got all the way to the end.
I'm a member of the Apple Consultants Network, and I'm an Apple consultant and trainer. And I own my own business, Design Solutions Technology Simplified.
All right.
All right, so the way I see this playing out is once it starts rolling, I will be holding on for the ride. And I won't be able to do much moderating because I understand how the real world works, and when you put a bunch of brilliant minds together, well, it's pretty much just an exciting ride, so we'll see what happens. All right, so since we're talking about women in technology, I thought we ought to take a moment before we dive in and take a look at some of the women that have had a major impact on technology over the years. For example, we have Madame Curie, and unfortunately, she died. But
Hit by a bus?
Hit by a bus. I know, it could have been the radiation, but no, hit by a bus. So, Madame Curie, who won a Nobel Prize in physics. Then we have Ada Lovelace, who is actually the first computer programmer ever. Then we have Grace Murray Hopper, and she was in the Navy, and actually she was an admiral, and she was very instrumental in the computer science that the Navy started using many years ago. Then we can get even a little newer, and Sally Ride, so the first American woman in space, and so she was on one of the space shuttles. And then we have, even more recently, Danica McKellar, and that name sounds familiar because everyone knows Winnie from the Wonder Years. And when she grew up, she became a mathematician, and she has several books out now and has been very instrumental in getting young girls interested in math and science. Which then brings us to one other Danica, which Allison thought we should discuss at some point, and that would be Danica Patrick.
Well, I feel that she's really raised the level of respect for women in technology. I think she's made a big impact there.
I will say, in her defense, she did make a big impact when GoDaddy started using her in their commercials. I realized clearly I was not hot enough to be their customer and canceled all my accounts with them.
It's a way to go.
I am not their target audience.
Yeah, so So it did have an impact.
Yeah.
Not probably their desired impact, but.
Can you guys hear us okay when we're talking without jumping on the mics? Everybody in the back? No,
Can you hear?
They're all
already?
asleep.
Okay, good.
One person is shaking their head now.
Oh, okay.
You can lean in.
I'm not shy. Does that help?
No,
We could-
you're not shy.
We can use the mics.
Yeah,
We should use the mics.
alrighty.
They move.
All right, cool.
We were
Then
told, don't be
we will
afraid to
use
pick
the
them
mics.
up, so.
We'll throw that in.
Alrighty.
Hold it very still.
All right, so one thing I thought we should probably get out of the way right away, because someone's going to ask at some point anyhow. Do we have a gender imbalance in the technology world?
No.
Yes.
Of course.
Yes. I'm an IT fellow in my day job, and there are 25 IT fellows, and I'm the only woman. So, I don't know, maybe?
The Apple Consultants Network has over 1,500 members and less than a quarter of us are women.
I guess we're going down the line.
Well, the last WWDC I went to, there was 250 women out of 5,000. That's like 5%.
Woohoo!
Better
Alright.
than none.
Is there a question there, really? That, I mean, who says that there isn't an imbalance?
You know, I'm sure we could probably find someone that doesn't think that there's an imbalance. So, no, it's more of a statement posed as a question.
Please, I can't hear you.
You need to speak in a mic.
Alright.
Oh, hey, I have a microphone, sorry about that. So, no, I was doing more the Jeopardy thing, where I was giving a statement in the form of a question. Oh, you look like you're about to talk, Tilly.
I always look like I'm about to talk, Jeff.
Okay, okay.
Because I almost always am. I've done a lot of tech support primarily as my day job, and it is really not uncommon to be the only girl. So even in not necessarily like building, making things, but just in tech, in IT, in support, it's really not uncommon, in my experience, to be the only girl in an organization, even if it's a big one.
It's fun sometimes.
It can be fun. It can be, it only sometimes, most of the time, I just don't notice it because I'm so used to it. The only girl in the computer class we had when I was in high school, and you know, the only girl that wanted to sit down in front of the computer, et cetera, et cetera. That's happened to me most of my life. I grew up in a very small town, so it's not uncommon for me to be the only person doing anything. But, well, when there's no traffic lights, you know, in the town that you live in, and there's no internet, you know, yeah, I actually did read all the books we had in the library, you know, that kind of thing, and I was always kind of that kid, and that was, for me, the excitement of the internet was there was no more, no, Kelly, just you. And it makes me very happy when that goes away.
In social media, I'm actually probably the sole person that experiences a lot of women in my job. Women master communication, we're excellent at community, so social media is a new world for women. And I know that in Sonoma County, we have a very high percentage. I'm born and raised here, so I have the advantage of home team. But we have a lot of home-based businesses, small businesses, sole props, and with women with second, third, and fourth jobs using social media, they are running laps around male-owned businesses. So I'm probably the sole to say, in my industry specifically, women kick tail.
How many of those women actually consider themselves to be in tech?
None of them.
That's,
They're business owners,
right.
and they're using technology to
They're using
be
it.
affluent
Yeah.
or successful. Women have a dearth of self-esteem, and technology is a control issue. So if you feel in control of your destiny, you are more likely to say you are involved in technology. So there's a self-esteem issue there, and because social media is so new, most people don't identify that it is in fact a form of technology. But women are really excellent at it, and somebody just needs to point it out to them, and they go, oh, I'm really good at that.
All right, so would you say then that there's an issue with people not letting someone know, simply because of their gender, that they're capable of performing a job?
That might be true across the board. I mean, I grew up with a father who was an engineer, and all I ever knew I was going to be was an engineer. And it's because he told me I could do whatever I wanted to do, and what he did looked really fun. So I think part of that is, do you believe you can do whatever you want, or do you have, you know, your parents are your earliest influence, right, on whether you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Sorry, I assumed that you were going to talk slightly longer. And it would be
Blah, 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 blah.
my bad. All right. So, for the people that you deal with on a daily basis in your jobs, do you find that they treat you differently because of who you are? And do you find that you treat people differently because of who they are based on gender?
I see, because I consult with both home users all the way up to small to medium-sized businesses, I see a variety of people, and I have some clients that will only allow me to come out because I am a woman. They only want a woman in their house. These tend to be women. They're more comfortable interfacing with me. They're more comfortable talking to me. Carrie said it right, I mean, in big, bold neon letters. We communicate differently than men do. That's a fact. Anybody who's married will be happy to assert that. And I do find that when I'm with my peers and all of a sudden I come out and say something, they kind of look at me and go, oh, yeah, you said that. But I also have a couple of other women peers who are way beyond the level I am and what they support. They support the bigger companies and stuff, and the guys go to them. So I think if a woman can bring a knowledge to what she does, that, you know, people are going to listen whether they're male or female, because I don't treat my clients any differently whether they're male or female.
I would definitely agree with that. I don't feel it at all. I don't notice it. I wasn't joking when I said I kind of like it. I mean, I went into engineering school and it was 25% women. That was good odds, let me tell you. And it worked out for me, as it turns out. So it doesn't bother me at all.
Hi, Steve.
But I don't notice the difference. I think I'm probably more biased because I've worked only with men my whole career, that when there is a woman in the room, it's kind of weird. It's kind of, well, you know, what's that about? What are you doing here? It actually, I notice when there's women.
I find a bigger, a noticeable change in the room because I'm young, not necessarily because I'm female.
I've had that too.
So I actually will play against my age. I had sheared all of my hair off for several years. So that curly hair makes me look really young. And I have to tell people all the time that I have 30 years of computer experience. And I like to say it for, I know,
Yes.
for dramatic effect, because people believe, oh, well, you've been doing this for 5 minutes. No, let's try 30 years. So I find more of a problem with age than gender.
I'm old, I don't notice.
My turn, age and gender, yeah, both. I've been working with computers for 35 years. Yeah, God, sadly, yes. 35 years. What I've found is that where I run into it primarily is when I'm applying to speak at. Can people hear me in the back? It looks like even with the mic, people can't hear me.
Just get it all
Get
closer
real
to your
friendly.
mouth.
Get real
There you go.
I really like this mic. When I'm applying to speak at computer conference or tech conferences, that's when I'm just not thought of. Guys tend to think of other guys. So when it comes time to come up with the panels for sessions, the guys who are running it come up with other guys to be on the panels and to give sessions. And that's why you see so many tech conferences that are 90% male, 99% male. I've been at conferences where there's been, you know, big gigantic conferences where there's been 100 guys and me. And then the next year it was 100 guys and one other woman. Tech conferences have a very long way to go before they are anything remotely female friendly. as I think Jean was just saying about WWDC.
Well, but we don't have to wait in line for the bathroom.
One
We're gonna have to give
That is the wonderful thing about CES, is the ladies' room is deserted.
Yeah.
Okay, but I was at a conference once where they looked at the number of women and they said, okay, we're changing the downstairs
I've been
women's
to
bathroom
one like that
to
too.
men.
Yeah.
So the women all have to go upstairs.
That
I
made me so
went,
mad.
I would move the sign. Forget that. Come on, for once I don't have to wait. I want to see it.
I guess, I think Dory has brought up the most, troubling aspect of all of these things. Like we know there's a gender imbalance in our field, and the only way that that's going to change is for more young women to see other women speaking and teaching and doing the tech work, and that there is definitely, even for an imbalanced industry, the conferences themselves are even worse. But ultimately, I think we just have to focus on how do we do that. How do we? I'm sort of given up on our cohort. That we're never going to get 50% of us people our age in the field. But I think the more exposure, like Allison said, like there's an article about how a lot of the younger women in tech, their parents are engineers. That people don't know what an engineer is if they don't know an engineer. I would argue everybody knows what a teacher is and a mailman and all those other careers. They know what social media is because you can't get them off of it. So I think we just need to get more exposure out there for girls and young women to see this as a field that they could be part of.
I think a lot of the speaking has to do also with the non-promotion promotion. I'm trying to figure out how to phrase that better because that's not the good word, but people who hang out together. Like a lot of the guys that are sort of in that circle of technology speakers at conferences and things, they go have a beer afterward, they go hang out at a sports bar, or they go do stuff that like I want no part of. And video games is another really good one. Like I have zero patience for World of Warcraft. I'm here to tell you, I'm sorry. It's just me. I'm sure it's just me. Halo, like I really want to like Halo. I really want to like Call of Duty, and I can't get there. And it's not the violence. It's not the violence in the game. That's the thing. The thing for me is the violence that I'm hearing in the headset when I'm playing with a 12-year-old who is saying things to me that no 12-year-old should know, let alone be repeating over the internet. And so those are the kind of things, and I'm not like uptight about it or anything. Like this is really way over a line. Like you start, well, where are their parents? But like there's a lot of guy stuff that happens that we just don't end up being part of. And I don't know that it's necessarily exclusion for exclusion's sake. I think that it may just be something that doesn't get considered.
You're just
Like-
not thought of.
Yeah, not thought of. And so I think that in this case, there's a gap to overcome for women where we have to stand up and say, I want to speak at that conference. I want to be part of the thing that you're doing. I want to be able to do that. And and then if they say no, you kind of have to not sweat it and apply again next year. And that gets kind of grinding after a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe as a woman, my tolerance for that is lower than what it is if I'm a guy. Maybe a guy cares a little less if there's a rejection. You don't get to speak at the thing this year. And they kind of go, because it kind of bothers me a little bit more, I think. And that might be part of the issue with getting more women in front of people so that it seems less odd when we're actually there.
One of my female role models is a woman named Kirsten, and I always do her name wrong, Shay, I think is the way you pronounce it. And she's an engineer, and one of the things she does is she goes out to the schools and works with the STEM program. What is that? Science, technology, engineering, math? Something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, she goes into the schools, and she's not just talking to young girls, but the young girls are seeing a girl up on stage, and I think that probably can help make a difference. I don't volunteer at all, but I look up to her for doing it.
I'm a keynote speaker, so I teach people of all ages from 5 to 95, and a huge part of my life's mission is to focus that energy that I could get very negative about what I don't see And I spend a lot of time channeling my energy going to every elementary school, every high school, every college that will have me. If people ask me, I am there. And I spend my time being very enthusiastic about math. But that's awesome, be an astronaut, woo! And I do that specifically to get girls and boys excited about using their brains. So a lot of it is vocabulary, and I have a very pretty little girl, but I spend more time talking about how smart she is or how hard she worked. So when Michelle Obama came on the screen, the Democratic National Convention, I said, she's a beautiful woman. I said, she is a smart woman. So it is one of my major goals rather than to, I don't go to a lot of tech conferences because social media is kind of a step cousin. But I don't spend a lot of time with a lot of tech people. I spend most of my time with non-tech people explaining these very confusing concepts to them. So I spend more time with people that don't even know what's going on, but a big part of my life is talking to kids about what I do and explaining those very foreign concepts that their parents cannot explain often. So that's where I spend a lot of my time, focusing on kids.
Now, okay, so on the kids
Now
thing.
she's my role model.
Yeah.
So, on the kids thing, I think you brought up a really important thing, which is how do we empower today's children to follow in all of our footsteps and become excited and enthused about technology, or not even just technology, but to pursue the type of career that really interests them.
I tell them one thing when they're little. I tell them you don't have to spell to be an engineer. And they seem to like that.
Not being an engineer and having sort of backed into my profession after having a second profession, an original profession, that was not technology related at all in any way, shape, or form. I came to geekdom late, and what I do see is what Carrie is talking about. For quite a while I taught in a program we have at our Sonoma State University here called the Excel program, and I taught Photoshop. And I made it just as exciting for the young men I was teaching as for the young women I was teaching, because I was empowering them to do something. But I think Carrie really kind of hit the nail on the head. It's about going out and showing our enthusiasm for all things technology related and science related and math related. And I don't even know, Carrie, do we have any of the STEM program up here?
At Healdsburg School, I actually talked to the principal and got super giggly excited. I was like, yes, you're so awesome! I wish I lived closer and I could put my kid in your school. Healdsburg School is the only STEM-based curriculum in any elementary school in Sonoma County that I know of.
And
Speaking as a parent of a child who went through Healdsburg schools, if you have a girl, it's great. If your child is a middle-class white boy, it is explicitly biased against them. So I have definite problems with Healdsburg schools. So.
This is the Healdsburg School, not all of them. It's
no,
an actual
the Healdsburg
school.
school is a private school,
Okay,
a private, very expensive school
got it.
that just opened about a year or two, a couple years ago.
But it is completely STEM-based.
And I think that that's part of the crux of the issue, because our public schools, at least especially here in California, are getting, basically raped at the financial level, and they're having to teach to the test. So the school funding isn't there, so then it falls back really on volunteers, volunteerism. I have a lot of retired teachers who are my clients now, and I can hear their passion for what they did when I start asking them about it. And I have to wonder if maybe our reaching out to more of the adults at the teaching level, who are you teaching? How are you reaching out to your students? I know, Windsor Elementary brought in a big culinary program, but at one time I actually worked with one of their instructors who worked with me also in the Excel program, and he was the journalism teacher and the computer teacher and doing a whole lot of hats up at the Windsor High School. And he always tried to encourage women, but I think maybe we almost need to look toward reaching toward the faculty of these schools, the administrators of these schools, would you, like a program, like in this county, we're very ag related, so all the kids get to go to Ag Day yesterday for the Sonoma County Fair. I don't know up in your area, Jean, do you do anything like that for the students in tech and that kind of thing, where the schools actually say, oh, let's bring these students to do this or to do that?
I'm just starting, I don't have kids, and so I don't really know the school system that well up there in Portland, so I might be wrong about this, but I don't think there's much in the way of that. I've been talking to a lot of teachers lately because I'm starting a program for girls to learn computer software development called App Camp for Girls, and that's going to start in summer of 2013. So I've been talking to everybody.
Jean's my role model.
And so I've had some really interesting conversations with teachers who are very excited that we're doing this and have girls already in mind, to suggest that they register and participate in the camp next summer. But so it's based on that. I don't think there's been that much done so far. But it's exciting when I've been talking to people about App Camp for Girls. The level of enthusiasm is huge. Everybody gets it suddenly that we need to make a big jump, because I think there's, one of the theories about why there are more guys who are developers now. So I'm talking, about this fairly high level of technology, where you do have to be able to spell, or you can't. Computer programming and spelling go very well together. But people are get it that you have to show them that it's fun and it's something that they can do, and that's my goal. I mean, I've been learning development myself, in preparation for this camp. And there was nothing like getting an app on my phone myself. The first time I put it on the phone, I was running around the house. It was I could show you all the app too. It's not very exciting. It's a quiz. It has 3 questions. It has 2 buttons. Of course, I had to spend more time making an icon for it.
Yes.
I think that's one of the things in App Camp for Girls. We're going to focus a lot on interface as well as, programming. So I think that. And here, I've been working with developers at Smile for years, and I never thought I could do it. I never really thought about it until this year myself, and it was really because of WWDC just making me so mad. So that's what I think we have to model that, for girls, and everybody is doing that in their own fields. And I'm going to be highlighting women who develop software. The staff of the camp are going to be women developers.
Any instructors?
I do. So anyway, I don't know if that was the long way of answering your question. My sense is that it's not just budget cuts; it's just lack of familiarity with the field itself. So.
I think another piece of it has to be lining people up, because you have to get people who are excited about technology to be who's teaching about technology, because that is something that that kids particularly will pick up on in schools and things. As long as someone's excited about what they're telling you, it doesn't even matter so much if you know, if you are the ultimate expert on it, as long as it's something that you're really, really excited about. That's something that's really important, because kids can pick up on if you're bored and going, this is how you create a class at Bueller. People know and care a lot less because you're not invested in it. And if we can find people like us who are excited about it and able to convey that excitement to other people, that part is the part that is always great. Whenever the game people get up at the Apple presentations, whenever you watch the videos after, and the game developers get up and talk about how they built the thing they built, I have no idea what they're talking about. But they're excited about it, and I'm excited to watch them be excited about it. So whatever it is they're doing, I'm paying more attention, I'm listening closely, even if I don't have any idea about the mechanics of the thing that they're trying to tell me how awesome it is. I just know it's awesome because they are really excited about telling me how awesome it is. And that piece is a lot of times a piece that is missing when you're trying to talk to any kids, whether they're boys or girls. trying to talk to those kids and having somebody that's really into it. You can be into it and having been at it for a long time and still be excited about it. And that's the kind of thing that I think sometimes gets missed, because enthusiasm will go a long way toward getting people excited about what you're saying as well.
Yes. I spend a lot of time working with education, and one note, if you have your phone on, can you turn it off? Just for the sake of it, it's distracting for us. So I have gone all the way to the state. I've gone all the way to Sacramento. They're not willing to, A, put laws in place to just basic policy for even our lawmakers. So we're on the hotbed of Silicon Valley. We have the least amount of education, the least amount of policy, the least amount of information for our lawmakers, for our educators, for every single level out of any state in the union. So they're not willing to do it at Sacramento. They're not willing to do it at the Sonoma County Office of Education. Won't even give me to even address technology at any level. They're not willing to train their teachers. They're not willing to put basic policies in place. They're not willing to address the issue at all. And the answer is always, we don't have the money. Well, when they get sued because there's some kind of a violation of policy, then they have the money to fight that. But they don't have the money to prevent it. So when I go to the Sonoma County Office of Education and say, let's at least make sure your policy is sound so that your teachers know what they should and shouldn't do with computers and kids and fellow colleagues, well, we won't even talk to you. We won't even listen to you. So when it comes to education, what I've discovered is rather than the policymakers and the rule makers, I've gone straight to the teachers. So the teachers are passionate. That's what they do. That's what they love. They love the kids. They love the information. And they are without a lifesaver. They are without information. They are without guidance from their boss. So they are drifting in the ocean of technology where the kids are coming in with stuff they don't even know what it is.
Yeah.
So the educators are desperate. And when I reach out to teachers individually, they're much more willing to talk to me. So what I've done is I've infiltrated them from the bottom up. So now I have teachers at every level invite me into their classes. And I've now got a little posse of teachers that trust me and bring me in on a regular basis. It doesn't matter what grade they're teaching. So what I've discovered is that I'm attacking it from the top down, but I'm not getting anywhere. So if I come at it from every angle, then I figure I will beat them down. That's my approach.
I've got a lot of sympathy though for the teachers. I mean, if you think about it right now, I mean, we're all Mac geeks here, right? I mean, I'm all over the iPhone and the iPad and the Mac and the routers and all that kind of stuff. And somebody comes to me, my sister-in-law had an Android phone at dinner and said, I can't figure out how to get it to pull my email. It goes on Facebook, but it won't go to my email. I'm like, I don't know. I had no idea. So now you're a teacher who has 800 other things they're supposed to be really good at, that whole, history and English, all that other stuff I don't care about. And so, how are they supposed to ever, there will never be a point where they know more than the kids coming in on every subject they have. So I'm not even sure how you could educate them to be ahead of the students. And I know the students mock the teachers for that. I go, well, I talk to kids all the time. Well, I knew a lot more than my teacher, blah, blah, blah. Well, okay, but they know a bunch of stuff you don't know.
Reverse mentoring. We see it a lot in the corporate world, pairing young executives with their bosses so that there is an exchange of information. They teach them how to pull their email on their Android phone, and then the higher level executive teaches them how to behave in the real world. So if you set that up, it actually works really, really well. And then for the younger generation, they have a sense of, rather than mocking their older generation, that they don't know what they're doing, they're dumb. There's more respect there, because if the older generation or more senior is willing to admit that I don't know something, can you show me? Let's sit down together on an even level. You share with me, and then I will share back. They call it reverse mentoring.
But it's going to be different next year.
Yeah, and the great thing is that young people seem to absorb it and figure it out faster than they can write a manual or a blog. So if we continue to set up that situation of reverse mentoring, it will beat any manual that could ever be created. Human contact, human education, human communication, it continuously works.
And I think Carrie also has the right idea, because it really can't come from within the schools, at least not in this state, because the schools are way too strapped. The teachers have no time, they have no money, and they don't have a whole lot of energy because they're being worked way too hard. But we can take someone like Carrie or Jean, you know, working and getting a program up and running that comes from the outside in, so that it's brought to the schools and said, hey, by the way, we'd like to offer you, or I'd like to come in and talk to your class about this, or, you know, excite students about math and say, hey, you know, do you all know what an engineer is? By the way, you know, let male and female know, but if you can get people enthused about it at any level, it's going to move forward. And if we're bringing what we know into the schools at the teacher's level, like Carrie said, not even trying, top down. There's another young woman in this county who does not really a career day, Dana Davis, yeah, out of Windsor. Leadership day. She does a leadership day for boys and girls at the high school level, early high school, freshman, sophomore. And I have a couple women friends who have gone and spoken. I never have, because the timing has never worked out for me. But I'm, you know, thinking now maybe I really should make an effort to reach out, because I know her, to reach out to her and say, hey, let me go in and talk to these girls and guys about what it is I do and why it fulfills me, and it's great, and it's an awesome job, and it's a lot of fun.
One of my ideas for app camp, once we get it off the ground with the girls, is to have some sessions that are for boys, but with the women instructors, so that they too can see, oh, women are computer programmers too, you know. So.
And when it's successful, Jean, you can franchise it.
Go there. One summer at a time.
All right, so one thing that I've been very curious about is how each one of you ended up getting into the field you're in.
So I was born in my father's knee, being told I'd be an engineer. And like I said, setting the expectation, you know, there was never a question of would I go to college. I don't remember actively making a decision to go to college. It's just what you do when you get out of high school. So that was a big piece of it. But I was positive I was going to be an engineer. Like I said, I started working at Hughes Aircraft Company in 1978. When I was 20 years old, and I worked as an intern, and then I stayed on with the company and never left. So it's been 35 years I've been in the same company, 34 and a half. And anyway, well, that's very important in my age demographic. You don't exaggerate how many years you got. But what I found out about 11 years in 1989, I realized that I was a good, solid engineer. I could do the stuff when they told me to do it, you know, but I wasn't the inventor that I thought I might have been. And I had seen my father and some of the other people I worked with had this inventor thing that I didn't have. So I actually switched over into working into the CAD department, and I found out that I was a really good manager of people, of technical people. And so I started working in that field, and then I actually ended up going back to being more technical, and actually an IT fellow, but in social media. So I've got the engineering background, so I understand the engineers, but I'm not actually doing engineering anymore. And what I like to say is I found I went from being a piano player as an engineer to being a pianist with computers. I mean, it was completely different. It was like, woo, you know, when I got into it. And that made a huge difference for me. So realizing that what you think you are going to do for the rest of your life is maybe not what you're going to do for the rest of your life is a big shock, but it worked out well for me.
I backed into my career. I was not a geek. I was not raised with a father who was an engineer. My father was a blue-collar steel worker in Detroit. My mom was a smart woman who graduated from high school, graduated from college, but then quit to raise her family. That was me. And I spent my first career in the restaurant business, not in this business, but I did tend to gravitate toward training and management positions in restaurant. I opened restaurants, I worked on training staffs, and I worked for a restaurant that got closed and went back to school to learn how to use my brand new Mac. And I loved using my brand new Mac, and I thought, well, maybe I'll just go back and do graphic design, because that was something I dabbled in high school. So I might do that. Well, in doing so, I discovered that I had a knack for taking the hand of my fellow student who, because I was already a full-grown adult with children, was often 10 or 15 years younger than I was, and showing them how to actually use the software and save their files and not lose their files. And I began my business by teaching people how to use their computers, by teaching people how to become friends with their computers. And of course, having to learn how to do the technical side of it, The tech support, the IT kind of stuff, came with the package, because you can't walk up to somebody's computer that's crashing every 5 minutes and teach them how to use Photoshop. It's just not going to work. Really, it doesn't. So then you have to troubleshoot and fix the computer. So I backed into my profession. And looking back, I go, well, yeah, maybe I did have some of that stuff. I was kind of the kid that did the Lincoln Logs. Okay, I'm dating myself here.
Lincoln Logs.
Lincoln Logs, right. You know, so I was doing the building things. I had the erector set, but I also had the Barbie dolls. You know, I had both sides of it. But I find that because I backed into my career, I have a different kind of brain around it than a lot of people do. Because like you said, you've got that math and that engineering brain that my brain goes, ooh.
Don't tell the kids that.
Yeah. I had Barbies, but I didn't play with them. My mom compromised and got me a 12-inch Princess Leia dolly that I could play with, so that she could act like it was a Barbie and I could act like it was Star Wars, and everybody won. So the nerd thing for Kelly started very, very early. I got into I have kind of an odd situation because I have 2 jobs and they're very different to me. I have a support position where I support software, and the thing that got me into that position was I ask a lot of questions. I always want to know why, how come, what for. So even if I don't know anything about the software I sit down in front of, which is part of the IT piece that you're talking about, even if I don't have any idea what led us to the point where the computer's crashing all the time, I can sit down and say, how long has it been happening? Have you changed anything lately? Have you updated something new and done, ask some basic questions and be able to get a feel for what's actually going on.
I didn't change anything, I swear. I didn't change a thing.
All I did was get a new hard drive and put in RAM. It's not like I changed anything. So those kinds of things, I'm sure we can all regale you guys later with support tales if you're interested. Let me tell you. My other job is writing and podcasting for TUAW, and I got into that because I like to talk. Don't know if you've noticed, and it's a little bit more of the explaining things to people. Here's how you do this cool thing, or showing off something on my phone. Have you seen this app? Mike, check this out. It's so cool. I know who sings that song. Isn't that awesome? And I have a real enthusiasm for technology. I'm partial to Apple, but I like all technology, and I'm a fan of all of it. If it's got a button that lights up and plugs in, I'm there. So I always want it to be great. Yeah. Ooh, new thing. Hey. Yeah, hey, you have that new Windows 8 phone? Let me see it. Is it awesome? Do you like it? Is it, easy to use? All of that, I always want to know about it. And I think, and part of the TUA piece is being able to share that with other people in the community around that, which I think is great. That's the thing I like the best about the TUA stuff that I do, is being able to interact with other people and help build that community. So that's how I ended up here.
So, my grandmother's a really hip lady, and she told me, computers are the way of the future. And I said, I'm 8, Grandma, I know everything. So the Commodore 64, she tried very hard with Frogger and any game that she could think of, typing tutor, to keep me on the computer. So anything she could think of.
Yeah, Grandma.
Gosh, she's 92 and she calls me, my email's not working. Grandma, relax. Grandma's really cool. So she just kept me cruising and orbiting around the machine without a lot of strategy, just wanting me to touch it and be on it somehow. So when I went through high school, had an English teacher that was interested, so I kind of always was around them. Still to this day, my parents didn't get a computer at home until 6 or 7 years ago. And it's still the really deep one, the big, horrible monitor. My dad has a new one now. He doesn't ever use it. But, so college, it was in college when I had to pick up a computer class to keep my scholarship, that I said, I'll probably be too advanced for this class, but I'll learn something. The first day of class, the instructor said, pull out the classified section, back when they were really thick, and said, circle any program you don't recognize, can't put on your resume, can't use. It didn't matter if it was agriculture, architecture, business, engineering, didn't matter what the industry was, our pages were bleeding with ink. And I said, I don't care what industry I go into, I have to know how to use a computer. So my fine arts background took a side step for a minute, and I got a degree. I chose, instead of going to a four-year college liberal arts degree, I went to a DeVry equivalent. I went to Heald College of Business, got 2 AAS degrees, one in business and one in computer software. And I didn't know what I was going to do with them. I used them as insurance. And then I went and became a model and an actress and followed my childhood dreams, and then realized I didn't want to be judged on the way I looked every day all the time. And my package, our package, rare, we already have one of you. Well, you've got 87 blondes, why? Okay. So I was disillusioned by the entertainment industry, but it served me well because now on camera, on stage, I have all of the tools that a theater performer has. So now, as a teacher and an educator of social media, the tone of my voice, the volume that I use, my body language, my delivery, my storytelling, all comes from that fine arts background. My business, 6 years ago when I started my business, was as an organization specialist. I would go into small homes and offices, review their processes, their systems, their technology, and let them know, well, why do you have 3 printers? Well, I don't know how to use that one. Well, let me recycle that one, and let me hook it up, and let me teach you how to use it. So when the iPhone came out, that changed my business. The iPhone came out, and then the economy changed. And every conversation I had centered around either Twitter or the iPhone. So now I can give you an upside-down iPhone lesson in any room, in any lighting, any place, anywhere you want. That's my Thanksgiving contribution. I give 3 iPhone lessons at every holiday party. So it is ultimately, for me, my career happened to me, the industry changed around me, the technology happened around me, and I was the only one that could speak to it. So I simply listened and paid attention to the people around me. And I am very curious, want to know, so I spend much of my time not able to research with dead tree books, as we call them in social media, is to voraciously read every blog that I can, stay in touch with every publication that's important, and talk to people, users. What do you think? Do you like it? Is it working for you? What's not working? So I have to spend a lot of time researching, but ultimately I get to tell kids, my job is Facebook. They say, what? I say, yes.
That's a job, isn't it? I can do that for a living.
That's awesome.
So now, the writer of the Dead Tree book.
Oh, I'm reading my own dead tree book, so believe me, I believe it.
If you talk to people who spent a lot of time looking at the history of women in technology, it's been pretty much downhill since the late 70s. Back, if you look at that late 70s, when it was actually up some, that was me. I was one of the people in that cohort. So, how did I get in there? I tend to blame my mom for never having bought me a Barbie.
Good mom.
No, I would have liked one. But mostly, as the youngest of 3, I had 2 older brothers, I thought their toys were much cooler than mine. Because they had the Erector set, and they had the Lincoln Logs, and they had all the stuff I wanted to play with.
Woohoo, Lincoln Logs.
Yay, Lincoln Logs.
You know, they can't put out Lincoln Logs anymore because they're worried about little kids and hurting themselves on it. Oh, it's a shame. I wanted to get them for my son.
We can swallow Legos.
So I was one of those people in the late 70s who went off to college to get a degree in computer science back when nobody knew what computer science was. People would ask me and I'd say, well, basically computers are going to rule the world and I want to be able to rule the computers.
Yeah.
So I did that graduated, got my bachelor's in computer science back before most people knew what it was. Programmed for about 20 years and got to the point where you're in your mid-30s, and this was one of the sad truths about technology, especially in software. Past a certain point, if you're in your mid-30s and you are a computer programmer, you are considered a failure. At that point, you should either be in management or off starting your own company to be considered a success. Old programmers are weird. They're not, they're just like, oh, what did you do wrong? You know, it's a shame that you're an older programmer. So I got to the point where nobody would hire me anymore because I was an older programmer, even though I loved doing programming. Then I found myself writing books. First, I started writing books so that I would have something to show, yes, I'm an expert. Hire me to be a programmer. And then I found that even more people, nobody hired me to be a programmer. But the books were making some real money. So I've been doing that ever since. And that since the late 90s.
Cool.
Well, I did not get a degree in programming. I got a degree in Russian history, and I tell people that is the route to fame and fortune in the software development industry. Little known fact. But seriously, I did take a course when that was all brand new, and because I was in college in the 70s too. But I just I always liked to be able to do word processing because I didn't want to use whiteout anymore. So I was always the person who knew how to use WordPerfect, but I worked in book publishing, Dead Tree Books back then. And then my sister started a software company. She worked for Hewlett Packard. She she should be on this panel. She's the one who, she got a business degree and she interned at Hewlett Packard, and then she became the product manager of the first color inkjet printer. And after, I think she got frustrated there. Not to put words in her mouth, but all the managers there were guys. And she started her own software company, and when I moved out to Oregon, I worked there. And that's when I first got interested in software and web design, actually. So I started with web design. I had Dory and Tom's book. I was the only person who signed up for a JavaScript class. That was the problem. And when I met Dory at MCE several years ago, I was like, said her name was Dory. I said, "You mean Dory Smith of JavaScript, the Visual Quick Start Guide?" It's my favorite book ever. And so I don't think she believed me. I was like, "Oh my God, it's you!"
I don't care.
You must be
anybody who says
Tom Negrino and Dory Smith together. I was so excited. Yes, I was. I know. I was like, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of geeks, and so that was a great moment. But. So that's really how I got into it, is just being interested in doing whatever is new. And then my good friend Philip Goward started a software company, and he said, "Can you help us with the website?" And it just sort of expanded from there. And that's been working with Smile since, more or less, doing something for them since 2004, and I love doing that because we have great products. We get to work with customers. I like the community around our software and around the things we do and things like this, MCE. So that's, it's a tech job, but it's really a people job. And I think ultimately that's how you have to think of any job, is people are involved on some level. That's the end.
All right, so we only have a couple minutes left. Is there anything that any of you, it's just been burning to talk about? Really?
We'd like to talk more about Lincoln Logs, actually.
Bravo, Lincoln Log.
I would just like to say to the audience that I think Carrie had a really dynamite comment. And that is, and Carrie's daughter is just an absolute little doll. I see pictures of her on Facebook. But I think
She looks really smart in those photos.
Yes! But I think that each and every one of us needs to be charged on a daily basis with telling any young child in our life, male or female, that you are smart, you are valued. If you apply yourself, you can be anything you want to be. And to just keep encouraging, because it really is the next generation that is going to make the difference. It always has been. That's like the way the world works. But if we don't, as a country, start encouraging our young people, male and female, to really believe that they are smart and that they can do it. And if something interests them, go question it. I'm a questioner. I always have been since I was a little kid. I was why, really, why? You know, and my parents answered. But, you know, a lot of kids, their parents don't answer. And if you see that kid on the street, you go, wow, that was so smart of you to do that. Just a little commentary like that.
So I want to follow that up because I know that looking out into the crowd, there are some people here who are not women. And what you need to know going through the world with indoor plumbing is that you are told from a very early age that by TV, magazines, books, this was a thing that I told Jeff when we talked about stuff that needed to be covered on the panel, is that from a very early age, we are taught that there is something wrong with you. And it doesn't matter what it is, but there is something wrong with you. And I'm going to sell you this thing that's going to fix that. And so there's a whole lot of, I mean, I'm not a tall person, and like every woman in every commercial ever is taller than me. So I'm a problem because I'm short. Even though I'm 5'4", and that's the average height.
5'4" not short.
5'4" is what I'm told is average, but every woman on television is not 5'4", I guarantee it. And they're all thinner and blonder and everything elser than what I am. And so there is, yeah, elser. That's me.
That's a good word.
That was me. Tell your friends. So for me to see anybody on TV who looks more like me, that's awesome. And, you know, like one of the things I love about Big Bang Theory is that they're not all tall, good looking, I'm an engineer. You know, like that's not the thing. And I love that that's how they cast the show. And, you know, like I could go on about Big Bang Theory in a whole nother session if you really want me to. You know, instead of security, I'll do that later. So the thing about it is that there's a whole lot of other stuff that goes with being a girl in society today, regardless of whether or not she has any sort of nerd-like tendency or not. So, you know, just because she doesn't like Star Wars doesn't mean she's a problem. And it's something that really needs to be encouraged in all kids, is to find the value in themselves and for other people to believe that in them, because sometimes it's really hard to believe it in yourself.
And I want to tag on what Ronnie said, absolutely agree with everything that both of you said. One thing I do want to add is that I spend more time working with people over the age of 50 than any other age group. And I want to say that regardless of age, we all need more confidence about the ability to do it. You know, the fear of breaking it, right? The fear of breaking it. I'm going to break it, it's going to blow up. No, it's not. It's okay. It won't break. It won't blow up. I've never seen that happen. So a big part of what I do is give people confidence and say, you can do it. This is super awesome. Look how easy this is. Oh, you can totally do that. I have to cheerlead people into believing they can do it.
Yeah.
Doesn't
What I end
matter
up
how
telling
old they
people
are.
is, I know that you don't know enough to do anything so bad that I can't undo it.
Exactly. So confidence at every level, every age, and what I've noticed is no matter how successful or senior or classic somebody is, experience, use whatever adjective you want. Vintage!
I use vintage.
Okay, so no matter how vintage you are, you can always learn. But what I have noticed is that fear never stops. You never get so old that you're not afraid. So a big part of my job is to help people overcome their fear, because we deal with fear every single day in everything we do. We learn how to get over it, but for some reason computers has a higher level of fear, so I have to mute that and give people the confidence to overcome it. You can do it. You're awesome. Look at what you do every day, all day long. So girl, boy, old, young, doesn't matter. Fear is a big part of it, and that's a big part of what I want to help people overcome.
All right, we are now out of time. So, awesome wrap up there. But I want to make sure everyone has a good outro, far better than the intro I gave each one of you. So please go down the line and tell everyone who you are.
Start with Jean.
Start with Jean.
Okay, I'm Jean McDonald. I'm at Smile Software, smilesoftware.com, and also App Camp for Girls if you are interested. That's appcampforgirls.com, and Mac Genie on Twitter. And thanks for having me.
Tori Smith, computer book author, programmer, occasional speaker at tech conferences, and at Dory, D-O-R-I, on Twitter. Thanks.
Carrie Rigo, social media consultant and keynote speaker, also author of a Dead Free book coming out next month.
Nice.
What you don't know about social media can hurt you. Take control of your online reputation. And avid educator. And CarrieRigoConsulting.com. There's just too many ways to find me. You find me on whatever channel you want to find me at.
I'm Kelly Gamont. I work for Agile Software, and I write for tuaw.com, the unofficial Apple weblog. And you can find me on a lot of podcasts because, as it turns out, I have a lot to say. And I'm on Twitter as Verso.
And I'm Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com. Easiest way to find me is on Twitter at podfeet, P-O-D-F-E-E-T.
Ronnie Roach of Design Solutions Technology Simplified, supporting all things Mac and iOS. I read the manual so you don't have to. www.ronnieroach.com. On Twitter, hashtag is R-A-R-O-C-H-E.
All right, and thank you everyone for coming this morning.
Thanks, Jack!